Hello and welcome to your daily solo 401k webinar and Q&A session with my solo 401k financial, where we help you to stop overpaying taxes and start building real retirement wealth. Today's topic, IRS shutdown, your solo shutdown. Please note your solo 401k plans are still open for business. This is your chance to get answers. Please use the chat to ask questions on today's topic or anything else. Chat them over now so that we can be sure to get to them all. Let's get started. All right, great. So we have an initial question. We'll knock that out first. First, please note that the presentation is being provided for educational purposes only. It should not be construed as tax, legal, or investment advice, nor is a solicitation. When making an investment decision, please consult with your tax attorney and financial professional. All right, thanks so much for bringing a good question, Alfonso. I believe the maximum contribution for a solo 401k is $70,000 for both pre and post tax. Does that mean you need to have at least $70,000 of salary income from your business? Or can you make less than salary but use funds, dividends, or sale of an asset from another source to contribute the difference? That's a great question. It's a classic question, Alfonso. Thank you so much for bringing it. So I always think that you need to have the earned income to justify the contribution. In other words, you can't save more than you earn. And the point of a 401k is for people who work to be able to save for retirement. So the point of a solo 401k is for someone who has earned self-employment income to be able to save for retirement. So you need to have earned self-employment income to justify that contribution. So for example, in the case of a business that is taxed as an S corp, earned self-employment income would be W-2 wages that the individual receives from their S corp. So if you only have, say, $50,000 of W-2 wages, the most that you can contribute is $50,000. You can't contribute more than your W-2 wages. Hopefully that helps. Thank you so much for bringing the great question. So if there are more questions on this topic or other unrelated topics, please chat those over now so that we can be sure to get to them all. If you're finding this to be helpful, please also like this video. It helps us to get the word out there. But now let's turn to the slides that we wanted to share. And there's a quick follow-up from Alfonso. Box 1 of the W-2 plus any pre-tax elected deferrals not in box 1 but over in box 12. So that's what we mean by W-2 wages. Box 1 of the W-2 plus any pre-tax elected deferrals not in box 1 but over in box 12. So let's lay the foundation for today's topic, which is IRS shutdown. Please note your solo 401k plans are still open for business. So the impact, in other words, of the IRS shutdown. So to understand the solo 401k, though, let's understand who's eligible. So eligibility is for people who are self-employed with no non-owner, non-spouse, full-time W-2 employees. So think like in a consultant, a realtor, freelancer, small business owner. The key is that you're reporting earned self-employment income. That's how you demonstrate. That's how you document that you're self-employed. So what that means will depend on how your self-employed business is taxed. So if your self-employed business is taxed as a sole proprietor, maybe a single member LLC, taxed as a sole proprietor, then earned self-employment income would be income reported on Schedule C. Now, if your business is taxed as an S corp or a C corp, earned self-employment income is equal to the W-2 wages that you receive from the S corp or the C corp. And finally, if your business is taxed as a partnership, earned self-employment income is income reported on line 14 of the K-1 that you receive from the partnership. So that's one prong of the eligibility criteria. The other prong is the owner-only prong. So in other words, you cannot have any non-owner, non-spouse, full-time W-2 employees working for any business owned by you or a spouse, if any. So if you and your spouse are both working in the business, that's fine. You can have a solo 401k as long as you're reporting that earned self-employment income and there are no other full-time W-2 employees working in the business. All right, now that we understand the basics, let's start to build on that to understand the impact of the IRS shutdown, if any, on your ability to open a solo 401k. And uh, just to cut to the chase, there is no impact. In other words, you can still set up a solo 401k, but let's really understand it. So let's first start to understand the IRS shutdown. So what's being shut down is in-person, paper services, automated systems are still functional. So what automated systems are needed from the IRS to establish the solo 401k? Well, really, it's just the EIN issuance. So the IRS expectation is that when someone sets up a solo 401k, they get a separate EIN number for the solo 401k. And so we obtain that EIN number as part of the onboarding process for our customers. And again, it's an automated system, it's an online system. So we will go through that online system to obtain the EIN as clients are opening up solo 401k plans. The other part of the establishment process, so for example, we prepare the documents, we help customers open up accounts, we help customers make contributions, we help customers roll over funds from pre-existing solo 401k plans. All of those parts of the establishment process are not dependent on the IRS. So the only part that's dependent is the EIN issuance, and that's an automated system. So the solo 401k plan establishment can proceed, notwithstanding the fact that the IRS is shut down because the automated system is not shut down. So again, we're establishing the 401k plan documents, we're helping customers open up accounts, fund the accounts, and we're still able to obtain those EIN numbers that are specific to the solo 401k. Now you might ask, okay, why do I need a separate EIN number? Well, a solo 401k, like any 401k, is technically a legal entity. It's a trust. When someone puts money in their 401k, those funds are not considered to be business funds. Those funds are not considered to be personal funds even for that person that they can use without restriction, right? There's rules around being able to withdraw money or what you can invest in. So it's really a separate legal entity. It's technically considered to be a trust. Those assets are held in trust for the benefit of the solo 401k participant when they retire. So as a separate legal entity, it obtains a separate employer identification number, tax identification number. And here's a practical example of why that's very helpful. Because, for example, let's say you invest those solo 401k funds in a certificate of deposit, which is definitely a use case a lot of our clients have taken advantage of. Invest their 401k funds in a CD and a certificate of deposit. And they might open up a bank account to invest in a certificate of deposit. So that means that the bank is going to be paying interest to that account based on the terms of that certificate of deposit. And the bank is then going to need to report that interest income to the IRS. And so the bank is going to issue a tax form to report that interest income. They're going to issue a 1099 INT to report that interest income. And they're going to issue that 1099 INT based on the EIN number that was used to establish the account. So if the EIN number, for example, of the self-employed business were to be used, or if the solo 401k owner's social security number were to be used to open that account, that would mean practically that the bank would issue that 1099 INT to the business EIN or to the solo 401k owner's social security number. So now the IRS is going to expect for that interest income that's reported on that 1099 INT to be reported on the personal tax return or the business tax return, which of course the solo 401k owner would not do because that interest income is growing inside their 401k on a tax deferred basis. So if an EIN number is obtained that's specific to the solo 401k, now the IRS understands that any income that's reported with respect to that EIN number, for example, on the 1099 INT that's issued to the 401k EIN, now the IRS will understand that that interest income is growing inside of the 401k on a tax deferred basis and won't look for that interest income to be reported on the personal tax return or the business tax return. So why act now? Well, you're not limited by the IRS shutdown. you can still open up a solo 401k, right? Assuming that you are eligible to set up a solo 401k. And there's a number of very significant benefits that our clients are taking advantage of by opening up a solo 401k. Number one is the contribution limits, right? A solo 401k plan has the highest contribution limits for any defined benefit, or excuse me, any defined contribution plan available to self-employed individuals. For example, for 2025, you could contribute up to $70,000 or even more if you're age 50 or older. Another great benefit with our plan, with the one offered by my solo 401k financial, is that setting up a new plan with my solo 401k, or even upgrading a basic solo 401k plan to our plan, will make the self-employed business eligible for $1,500 in tax credits. That's $500 per year for 3 consecutive years, which is going to more than offset our fees for the first 7 years. We charge $650, which includes the $525 establishment fee plus the first $125 annual fee. Then starting 12 months later, we charge our $125 annual fee that covers the second year. So those $1,500 in tax credits will more than cover our fees for the first 7 years. In addition, our plan allows for tax diversification. So for example, it allows for not only pre-tax contributions, which allow you to reduce your taxable income now for the year for which you make the contribution, as well as Roth and even mega backdoor Roth contributions, which allow for the possibility of tax-free growth. In addition, our plan allows for investment diversification as well. So not only does it allow for typical brokerage type investments like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, certificates of deposit, just to name a few of your brokerage type investments, but also true alternative investments such as real estate, cryptocurrency, private equity, pre-IPO stock, notes, gold, among others. So will the shutdown delay the setup? No, it won't. So things are proceeding as normal with no impact from the IRS shutdown. Again, what is impacted? Manual filings, refund, phone service by the IRS, right? Their people have been drastically reduced, but their automated systems continue to function. Are contributions affected? No, they're not, right? You're not making contributions to the IRS, you're making them to your 401k account at the bank or brokerage of choice. Again, their online systems are fully operational. All right, that takes us to the end of the slides that we wanted to share. Thank you so much for checking out today's session. If there are questions or topics you'd like to discuss, whether on this topic or other unrelated topics, please chat them over now so that we can be sure to get to them all. If this information is helping you feel more confident about your future, please take 1 second to like and subscribe. Liking tells the platform that this content is valuable, which helps other solopreneurs like you find it. Subscribing guarantees you get notifications of all of our crucial content that we deliver every day to help you secure your retirement. So we'll give you another moment to see if any more questions come through. In the meantime, we invite you to our community. We do have the largest community of solopreneurs, solo 401k owners, over 30,000 members, which means that we have vibrant forums. We have a library of videos and webinars. It's totally free to join. All are welcome. You don't have to be a client. You can join quickly and easily at mysolo401k.net/my community. All right, that's it for today's session. Thank you so much for investing your time with us. Your time is valuable and your retirement future is worth it. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe so we can keep building this community. We'll be back here tomorrow with more crucial content to help you secure your retirement.